Hello, and thanks for watching the 100th episode of ARFCOM News. Today I want to tell you about the new bill which would require a license just to own any handgun and why I think we ought to treat guns just like cars. But before we get started, I want to tell you about the fine single malt barrel-aged night vision products with notes of hickory, chocolate, and leather offered to you by our friends at TNVC.com. Meticulously prepared by expert craftsmen, TNVC Night Vision is bold and refreshing, just like you. If you like seeing stuff more than not seeing stuff, take a look at our sponsor, TNVC.com, your source for quality night vision gear to make you the bump in the night. Alright, now first off, I want to remind you of two of the most important gun rights issues we covered in a previous episode. Those issues are the ATF's proposed rules concerning receivers and braces. The links to post public comments for the brace and receiver proposed rules are down there in the doobly-doo. So please hit the links, write a comment, post it. That said, as pressing as those issues are, there are still other things happening in the gun rights world. U.S. Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman has introduced H.R. 3740 called the Handgun Licensing and Registration Act of 2021, which would require, well, right there in the title, it would require licensing and registration for all handguns. That is, to own any handgun, even to continue owning the handguns you already have, you'll need to seek permission from the government. To get that permission, you would have to complete training, submit fingerprints and a photograph, and have a background check. Then you'd have to do it again in 5 years. In conjunction with the license, the federal government would explicitly maintain a registry of owners in direct contradiction to the 1986 Firearms Owners Protection Act. Representative Coleman whined that our government requires registration and basic standards for operating a vehicle, which is a common refrain from the control freaks. And frankly, for once, I agree with them. I believe we should indeed treat firearms exactly like we do automobiles. That is to say, I believe anyone should be able to buy any gun they want in person, over the phone, or online, from a private seller or from a dealer, without any limits whatsoever on the kind or quantity, and without so much as a background check. I believe you should be allowed to build or modify a gun in any way you want. I believe you should be able to have a gun delivered directly to your house, and you should be able to transport your gun across state lines without worry or harassment. I believe the government should construct and maintain ranges to safely operate firearms, and those ranges should be paid for with nominal fees. It's perfectly reasonable to require training and insurance prior to using those public ranges also. Not that you would need any of that to use your gun on a private range, just like a car. Oh, and if there is any licensing involved, it should definitely be recognized by every state. See, what the control freaks are missing is you only need a license, insurance, and vehicle registration if you intend to operate your vehicle on public roads. Regulations regarding emissions, restraints, lights, and window tint have no bearing on vehicles which are not operated on public roads. Likewise, if I don't plan to shoot my gun on a public range, it shouldn't be regulated in any manner. Somehow, I doubt these control freaks would be comfortable in a world where cars were as strictly controlled as firearms are in today's world. H.R. 3740 is in the House Judiciary Committee right now, where I expect it will die a much-deserved death. But if you'd like to register your position and ensure this bill sees the end it deserves, call 202-225-3121 and tell them it is unconstitutional to require a license to exercise a right. Tell them it is hopelessly infeasible to license and register the roughly 72 million handguns in this country. Gundustry news! Rock Island Armory is releasing an aluminum frame Glock clone. they didn't call it that, but their new striker-fired STK-100 looks an awful lot like a Glock to me. The trigger guard and slide are just different enough that it might not be compatible with some Glock holsters, but the visible parts look like they are interchangeable with Glock parts, and the pin locations look to be identical. The aluminum frame ought to soak up just a bit of recoil, and it has an optic cut on top of the slide. Not that you asked, but I kinda dig the styling on the slide except for those lightning cuts. That's cool on competition guns, but it's just stupid for carry pistols because it guarantees you're gonna get more crud and boogers inside. And the frame texturing looks like it was designed by someone who also designs those garden hose spray thingies. But the MSRP is $600 and the street price should be quite a bit lower, and I have to admit, I'm intrigued by the aluminum frame. Assuming this thing does, in fact, take Glock mags, I think it has a decent place in the market. There are other Glock clones out there, but they're mostly focused on making the pistol more perfecter by offering normally aftermarket options as OEM features, but few of them are really trying to compete with Glock on price. While it isn't as cheap as the PSA Dagger, if RIA can manage to import enough to meet demand, a budget-priced aluminum frame Glock clone ought to sell pretty well. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoy watching these things because I sure like making them for you. Hey kids, do you want to get email alerts for the best deals, projects we're working on, and the hottest stuff you missed on the ARFCOM forums? You bet you do. So go ahead and hit the Linktree link down there in the doobly-doo and sign up for our newsletter. And remember, our robot overlords in the tube of views know what we want better than we do ourselves, so they routinely unsubscribe viewers from channels which could contain wrongthink like our own. Of course, that makes puppies cry, and Captain America is very disappointed, so don't forget to check every now and then to be sure you're still subscribed to us, and ring that notification bell to stay in the know on all the 2A news. If you would like to help us keep bringing you banger content like this, please support the folks who support us. Not only does TNVC.com give you night vision with that cool, refreshing, never bitter taste that goes down smooth, they also have mounts, lights, and all sorts of other gear to make you the bump of the night. I love you.